I think at the end of the day, luxury is more about each person you help and treating them all the same.
Yeah.
Naturally, you'll get into the higher price points because your relationships will continue to flourish. So I think it's important to note that I don't think it's really a price point. It just happens organically if you're doing a good job for your clients.
Welcome to another edition of TM3 Impact. Today, I have the one, the only Binkan Cinaroglu. I'm so excited to have him here on the podcast. I've actually wanted to do this for a really long time. We've talked about it, but you're here.
I haven't,
welcome.
But yeah, I'm here.
Well, listen, I get asked about how did Binkan get into real estate? I probably get asked this, at least 4 or 5 times a year. How did he get his start? I would love for you to share your start, how you came to San Antonio and you started in the real estate business. How did that come about?
So I've been here. I've bounced around, but I grew up here and I was born and raised here. So I was back in one of my stints where I was back here. The schooling route, it's something that I always wanted to do. I always saw myself going to college, finishing college. Obviously, I haven't finished college, unfortunately, but I remember that when I was younger and I was trying to put myself through college, I got myself into UTSA and I was paying my own way and didn't like it too much. And I was working. I was always working. I was always selling something or working to make money doing something. Like at the time, I was working at a car wash, and the car wash you could make good tips. So I remember being in a class at UTSA learning about tectonic plates or something that was insignificant to me or not very interesting to me. And I said, well, I could be making $20 on a tip. So I'm not going to do this. So I just dropped out of school and just started working full time at the car wash.
Yeah. What year was that?
My gosh, that was 2000, maybe 2005.
Okay.
4 or 5.
Yep.
And then at the car wash, I did pretty well there and I spent a lot of time there and I met some people there. And through that, I got a job at Nordstrom selling clothes. I've always sold things, sold Kirby vacuum cleaners, knives, cars, motorcycles, everything. So then at Nordstrom's, I started working there probably in 2005 as well.
Okay.
Maybe car wash was 04 and then this was 05. And I was working at Nordstrom's and Nordstrom's is all commission based. So anyone that buys anything, if you buy something there, they're making 7% to 11%.
I did not know that.
You wouldn't think that because today I walk into Nordstrom's and everyone's just standing around.
Yes.
And I've got clothes in my hand and I'm like, these guys just don't want to make money. It's crazy.
I did not realize that.
It's commission based. So I did very well at Nordstrom because I speak Spanish. Lots of Mexican nationals came and shopped and I wanted to make money.
You were killing it.
I was trying to sell everything from men's clothes all the way to women's shoes and women's cosmetics. And Rick Cooper owned the company at the time and he would come in there and shop sometimes. And every time he'd come in, anytime anyone would come in, I would try to upsell them. I'd be like, hey, you're married, why you're not going to take anything home to your wife? You can't just get home without anything for your wife. And
that's slick.
So he knew me from when I was younger a little bit. And then we kind of connected at Nordstrom's and he told me, he's like, hey, if you ever want to get into real estate, you should come get into real estate. I've got a brokerage and I'll give you a spot at the Dominion office. And I started researching a little bit and I didn't think much of it. I was doing well at Nordstrom's and
how much do you think you were making at Nordstrom's at that point?
I was making 6 figures.
At 6 figures.
At that time.
And you were how old?
Oh my gosh. What was 05? So I'm 39 now.
Yeah. Well, think about that. To be, this was 14, 15 years ago, right? Mm-hmm. And you're making over 6 figures. So 23, making 6 figures. There's not many 23-year-olds making 6 figures.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun for sure. It was a lot of work though.
You were hustling. You were making it happen.
Anything that's worth it, it requires a lot of work, right? So I went from a job so then I met my wife there because she went for a summer job. And that's how we met.
Okay. I didn't know that.
She came from McAllen to go study. And then she was working at Nordstrom's. And I joke with people that they would tell, in the morning, they say, these are the top salesmen. So it's kind of a sales job, right? So in the morning, they go on the intercom and they tell you, hey, here's a top salesman. So she came and looked for me because she was like, who's this crazy name that's always at the top, number one,
Yeah.
But that's like, it's me. We just met through Nordstrom. Yeah. But when I met her, I started to get real serious with her. And now I'm 24 and I'm like, okay, I've got no school under my belt. I graduated high school. Mm-hmm. What am I going to do? She's going to leave me, if I just tell her that I want to work at Nordstrom.
Because she was going to school at that time?
She was going to school. She was at UTSA. And my brother, who was also had a similar trajectory to me, and then we split at Nordstrom's, Mariano.
Yes.
he was working there, and he looked at me one day at Nordstrom's. He's like, "Hey, what are we going to do? Are we going to work at Nordstrom's all our life?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Shit, yeah, I'm going to work at Nordstrom's all my life. This is great." You know,
Yeah. We're making good money.
Better at the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
He actually broke off and went to work at USAA, and then got himself into UTSA. They paid for UTSA, and then did really well. Went to Austin, did
business
really
school at Austin.
Business school in Austin.
Yep.
Graduated business school in Austin, and I stayed. But then I jumped from Nordstrom's to real estate because Rick had told me, "Hey, I'll give you an opportunity." That kind of sparked the fire in me. And then I wanted to do something so that Ashley didn't leave me.
Yeah.
I was like, she's going to leave me, obviously, if I
I got to step up my game. Yeah.
I had a scooter. I drove a scooter.
Like a Vespa?
It wasn't a Vespa because Vespas were a little more expensive. It was another little scooter, but
it
looked like a cheaper version of a Vespa.
I did not know that story. That's hilarious.
So we lived in apartments around there, and we would drive our little Vespa. And my brother didn't have a car at that time either. So both of us, when we worked at Nordstrom's, we would get on the Vespa together.
Yeah, he'd have to hold on,
and both in suits going to Nordstrom's in Texas.
Oh my gosh, that's so awesome, Binkan.
So then I said, you know what? I'm just gonna do it.
Yeah.
And Ashley was very supportive, and I told her my plan. She actually took the courses with me. So I quit cold turkey at Nordstrom's one day and got myself into Champions. I remember I had like $6,900 in the bank.
Okay.
That was because I would spend all my money every weekend because it was just a different time.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a ton of money.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is enough for me to take my classes and live day to day. And, you know, I don't. So I did, and I took my courses with Ashley. We did them at Champion School of Real Estate. We put money aside for the classes, and this was in November of 2008.
Ooh.
When everything was just because
this is a really bad time
for 3 years.
Yeah,
really bad time to get into real estate.
Yep.
That's what everyone was telling me, but you know, it was a really big blessing because I learned in the hardest time once I really did get into the weeds in January and February and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But that's the reason I got into it. And Rick actually held up his side. He put me in touch with the manager, who was Ruby at the time.
Oh yeah, Ruby was great. Awesome.
Yep. And I went one day and met with her. She met with me, and then she called me. She said, "Okay, you're good."
So you're 24. Are you 24? So 24 starting your career, which matches up to my story when you and I first met because, but this had to be 2008, around 2008 timeframe.
2008, I was taking my classes.
I started
my first day at the Dominion office was January 1st, 2000.
Okay, so this is perfect. So in June of 2009, Christina and I get our license. I was a teacher, had been a teacher, and I remember we were in that hallway office. I tell people about the hallway office, and I'm sitting and I'm reading a book, and next to me is this gentleman that's just on the phone, talking, emailing, talking, going from Spanish, going to English. And I finally look over and I looked at you and I said, Binka, who are you talking to? And you told me, anyone who will answer the phone. And I remember sitting there thinking to myself, like, who is this guy? And that was the year that you got Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
And so tell me about, because here's what everybody has. They have this illusion that their first year is just going to be magical. Yes, you got Rookie of the Year, but how long did it take for you to get your first sale?
I closed my first house in April.
Okay.
Of 2009. And I learned very quickly. So what I did when I first started is I got close to any agent that would talk to me. Right. And in the Dominion, it was full of all the top agents in San Antonio were
the heavy hitters.
And they see this kid come in and I speak Spanish. They're like, no, we're not going to help you, you know, because these guys are, you know, they're just in their own world. But I did get close to Matt Resnick, who is amazing. And I consider him a mentor in the real estate business for me. And he allowed me he took me under his wing and I would help him with anything he needed. I told him, hey, Matt, I'll work for free. Like, you tell me what you need me to do. So it transformed into me holding open houses for him, going and opening this, going and opening that. And I learned in real estate at that time that if you're just at the office, even if if your calendar is blank that day, if you go to the office and you're in it and you're talking to people and they send you to go open a house or they send you to go do this, things just kind of happen. Yeah. So through open houses is how I got my first client. And I was at an open house with Matt and not with Matt, but just by myself because I would hold open houses for the first 2 years of my career. I held an open house every single weekend, both days a week if I could. Yeah. I mean, I wasn't traveling. I wasn't doing anything. I was just working.
And just a point on that, not to interrupt you, but Binkan, I think this is so important for people to hear because the business over the last couple of years came so easy. And now we got to get back to the basics. Now we got to get back to like the grind of real estate, right? Like really digging in. And agents are like, if they haven't done that grind, they're going to be washed out.
It's so bad. Yeah.
Right.
Anybody that got in the business, I think in 2021, 2020, or beginning of 2022, even 2020, it's just, they've seen something, and we went through a cycle that I don't think we'll ever see again.
No.
I mean, it was, you know, it came with its own benefits, but it also, for me especially, came with its own challenges because it was just such chaos. And I prefer the grind, and I prefer to have to earn every single penny and everything that you do. So when I was holding an open house that time, there were some folks that came, and I would just try to make a good impression on everyone. And I wasn't pushy at all, but I knew sales. So I knew how to present myself. And those people that were at an open clients that were in open house, just buyers that just saw it in the newspaper that stopped by, they called me back and they said, "Hey, there's this other house that we saw that we want to go see. Are you able to show it to us?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, of course.
I'm on it." Yeah.
I had called my wife and asked her for her 4Runner, and I went to go show them this house. And then that turned into me showing them another like 20, 30 homes. And then they actually found one. We put it under contract and we closed it.
Where was that house?
That house was in Garden Ridge.
In Garden Ridge.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was the Kinslows.
Yeah, that's awesome. You'll never forget your first house.
Never forget my first house. No.
Yeah.
No. And from there, it just kind of, you just kind of keep working, keep doing what you're doing. When I told you anyone that'll answer the phone, I figured out that the more people I talk to, the more people I try to connect with, the more things will happen.
Yeah.
And that's how you start. That's how I started, at least. I think starting is one of the hardest things in real estate. You really have to work your butt off.
Yeah.
People don't realize what it takes. I mean, I was complaining because Nordstrom was a job where any holiday, any night, any weekend, you're working because that's when you make the money.
Yeah.
And now it's any holiday, any night, any weekend, or any day, or any 24 hours and any day, you're working,
You're working.
So,
yes.
I went from a lot of work to just nonstop on.
Yeah. So what do you think was, I mean, I'm sure people ask you, you've gone in and you've talked to different brokerages and just said, "Hey, if somebody wanted to know, hey, how you became the success you are, what do you think are the keys? Like if you were to say, hey, 1, 2, and 3, or if you were to put some things out there for people that are listening to this, what do you think are the keys to that it's made you the success you are today?
Gosh, I tell people ask me all the time, they want to meet, they want to have coffee. I'm like, look, they want to have lunch. I'm like, I don't have lunch myself. I'll have lunch with you, but come to the office. And I try to help as many people as I can. And that question I get a lot.
Yeah.
And it's so, you would think there's this like intricate answer that's so complicated and oh, wow. But it's not, it's hard work. It really, really is. If you work hard and you have good intentions, everything else will come. Those are the two things that I think are extremely important.
Yeah.
You obviously, once you work, you're working and you're in it, you've got to have a skill set to do what we do, right? To negotiate a transaction. It's really a people job to understand people's emotions, have their best interests in heart, and really want to do a good job for them, put themselves in your shoes.
Right.
And that's part of the good intentions part, right?
Yes.
So you work hard and you have good intentions. And I think that this city is just there for the taking.
Everybody wants to be a luxury agent. So kind of talk through, what do you tell people that say, "I want to be a luxury agent"? What do you tell them?
The question I get is, how do I get into luxury? How do I become a luxury agent? Same thing, right? And I thought to myself, well, I get this question, but did I ever say, God, I want to be in the luxury market, And I didn't want to be in the luxury market. I just wanted to do a good job for people. Obviously, I wanted to make money and do good for my family. And I learned that luxury comes, and being in the higher end comes with the more people that you touch. So something I tell people in all my listing presentations is, it's a level of service I offer all across the board, because I'll still today sell a $200,000 home. Yeah. And sometimes through that $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 home, the relationships continue, they grow. And then you get these other listings, and then you start to work in the higher end in the luxury. But I think at the end of the day, luxury is more about each person you help and treating them all the same. Yeah. Naturally, you'll get into the higher price points because your relationships will continue to flourish. Yeah. So I think it's important to to note that it's I don't think it's really a price point. It just happens organically if you're doing a good job for your clients.
Yeah. You're taking care of people. Yeah. I remember Rick Cooper talking about like, hey, every house is $1 million house, right? Because the potential of that person, you never know where it's going to go, right? Every house is a $1 million opportunity. I love that. I think that's spot on.
Absolutely.
So transitioning to working out, like, you've revolutionized your body. You've completely changed your body. Let's talk through that a bit. Like what has that meant for you from a business perspective and a family perspective to change your body the way you have?
So that's huge. That's probably been the biggest change in my life. I would venture to say it's probably saved my life. It's just such a big component of a lot of my success, happiness, well-being. And I've got to credit you for calling me that one day, or I called you. I think I was on my way to Lifetime.
You were on your way to Lifetime.
And I was going and doing, BS workouts at Lifetime. And you were like, you got to come to boxing. You got to come to boxing. So I did.
Yeah.
And that sparked the fire, and that really got me going. And not only thanking you for that, but also thanking you for pushing me all the way through. I mean, since that first day that I went to boxing, we've done so much together. We ran a marathon because you decided on Saturday to run a marathon on a Sunday.
That's right.
And it's been so much, but personally, it has just given me so much more value in my life with my kids and my business, that it's just the best thing that could have ever happened to me was go to boxing and call you that day. So I thank you for that. But talking about the transition, I mean, I lost, I think it was 6 months. I lost 60 pounds.
Yeah.
I stopped drinking. I took care of my body and I worked out, and I just completely changed. Before that, I was drinking and eating way too much. Working a ton. I had Sophie. So my 9-year-old was a couple years old, and I would spend time with her, but my life was just different. It was just work, see what you can go do and eat and drink. And then I was just bogged down, and I was very much overweight. And then when I started to work out, I started to feel better, and I started to be more clear-minded. And now it's just a part of my life.
Yeah.
And if I don't work out for a few days, my body will tell me, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And
for sure.
And it's obviously been a big transition, and we've been through a lot of different things, from boxing and sparring to marathons, to swimming, to all of this stuff that we do. But I cannot emphasize how important it is to take care of your body.
Yes.
If you want to be successful and happy.
Yes.
That's one thing that I look back and I'm like, God, I was doing really good. I was already doing really good at work and in my business, but I don't know how happy I was. Not in my family. I love my family and I was very happy with them, but maybe with myself, and I just didn't know it.
Yeah.
And so just changing that up completely and being healthy is just a different thing. I tell people that I have all kinds of clients, and I've got clients with a ton of money, and they always want me to go and on a Tuesday. I don't drink during the week now, for example. And I've got so many invitations to go and just have a beer, have a scotch, or let's. And I tell them, no, I'm very strict during the week. And I follow up, and they'll try to make a comment or make fun of me. And I say, look, you might have a lot of money, but you can't buy time, brother.
You cannot. Cannot.
And that's another thing for longevity and just for your future, and to be able to play with your grandkids.
Yes.
There's just so many things so many benefits that come with it, that I would just think it's ludicrous not to take care of yourself.
Right. Like, and that's the big piece I think people miss, is what is the most important way that we make our money? It's with your body. Like, it's with your mind. And if your mind is not sharp and your body's not sharp, then you have your business, to be able to build a business is going to be really difficult.
That's right.
It's going to be really, really hard,
I remember back thinking, gosh, could it get, because I was up there and I was like, God, could it get better? Can I, could next year be better? I was always so doubtful. Like, there's no way. There's no way. Well, I've thought that every single year, all the way up until this year. And the transition from when I was unhealthy to when I was healthy, obviously San Antonio's grown, but that's when I really exploded in real estate, not only in real estate and in production, but also in my family life, and just in everything, in every facet of life. It just made everything better. So
and then the people are going to say, but Binkan, I don't have time. So I don't have time, Binkan. And what do you tell them when they tell you that? Like, your clients that are like, they're out of shape, they're overweight, and I don't have time for all that, Binkan. You're working out every day.
Anything that's worth it, anything that's valuable, anything that you're actually going to get something back from, it takes sacrifice and work. And finding time is, people tell me I don't have time. I have 3 children. I live a full life with them at home. I give them a ton of time. I have a full business. I produce a lot and I'm always on, and I still find time.
Yep.
I think people that say I don't have time, I mean, they just need to look in the mirror, and it's just laziness. It
Yeah.
really is. I know that firsthand. If you want to find time, you will find time.
Yeah. Well, I was also thinking about this is like on the flip side of that is, as we get older and we age and our body starts to deteriorate, if you haven't done anything in your 20s, 30s and 40s, and then you're in your 60s and you're like, okay, now I want to turn it on. Like at that point, you're chasing. It's harder. It's much, much harder. And it's harder because, you have the time now, but you didn't put in the work earlier. So you're going to pay the price. It's going to be much, much harder. So do it now. Like I just get in the gym, find a Black Stallion Boxing like Tony, get somebody to help you.
Look, and it's like anything. Like when I started, it looks like a big uphill climb,
Yeah.
right? My brother, who I talked a little bit about earlier, he gained a ton of weight.
Yeah.
He had some issues. And I would tell him, I was like, look, just baby steps.
Yeah.
Start with baby steps. Because if you do that and you do one day, then you do the next day, and then you do the next day. You just focus on the next day.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, a couple weeks have passed. Then a month has passed. Then you're in this place where it's just fun because you start to see change.
Yeah.
So then you've got 6 months behind you, and it'll happen quicker than you think. If you think, oh, it's unsurmountable because I haven't done so much, or I'm so overweight, or I eat so bad, or my habits are so bad, you got to start somewhere.
You got to start somewhere.
Just start in one place. Look at the next day and go step by step, baby steps, and it comes quicker than you think.
Yeah, I would imagine, because that first day, I remember you looked at me that very first day of boxing, and you looked at me like we had just, I could already see your face, and you're standing there and you're just kind of like in this, like you're zoned out. Because we did a workout that day.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember your first workout, but I remember you just staring there and looking, and I'm like, I don't know if he's going to come back. Because, bro, he put us through the ringer that day. He put us through the ringer that day. But you know what? You know how many people I've invited to boxing? I've invited a ton of people.
Yeah.
But very few people had the courage to come and then let alone do like what you're doing 5 days a week, right? And then are you still running? Are you doing some running before and after?
I am. So I'll go in spurts. I'm not running as much as I used to, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah.
We got a little bit.
We got carried away. We did.
Carried away, but I am running less than I want to. I miss running. I miss just getting up on, early on a Saturday or any day and just running and not, just running free, not knowing how long you're going to run and just running and thinking about things. I miss that a lot.
Yeah.
But I am still running. I'll run before or after a few miles here and there, and then I'll run 5, 6, 7 miles here and there, but not as much as I want.
Okay. Well, listen, I remember too, we were running at Hardburger Park with your mom. Mm-hmm. And we were running out there. And I think this was probably maybe the second time you'd ever run in your life. You were like, I haven't really run.
Yeah.
I
despised running. I never ran all my life and I despised it. And this was the second time.
This was the second time with your mom at Hardburger.
The first time was with Tony at the boxing gym.
Yes.
Where we put the lights on.
Yes. And we did the hill?
We did the hill.
And,
and I remember I had worked out for a little bit and we were running and we're running up a hill and I was about to collapse.
Yeah.
And Tony said, what did he say? He said something about you're not a real man if you can't climb the hill or something like that. And I was like, well, shit. Yeah. I got to climb this hill.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go. Yeah. So that kind of led obviously to us, doing the crazy running and everything. And then the sparring, like, do you remember the sparring that we did? Like, I think back to that in that time and we were, as far as shape, we did 2-a-days. We were doing 2 boxing workouts and running. Yeah. In what point?
We were in great shape for sure.
Crazy shape.
Sparring is just still a different animal.
It's a different
animal to get in there and have some punches coming at you. But it was awesome. It was great. Unfortunately, my shoulders kind of didn't give in or gave out on me.
Yeah.
Because every time I'd spar, I'd literally pop it out.
Right.
So that was a problem. And then I had to have surgery. And then I came back from surgery and.
So we don't need to spar anymore. My wife looked at me and said, we don't need to spar anymore. Okay. You don't need to do that anymore. But now let's talk about right now, because both of us are fasting right now.
Yeah.
We're on the fast by Gary Brecka, the one that Dana White talked about.
Yep.
And I'm curious, like what led to this moment where you called me and were like, hey, Tomas, we need to do a fast. I'm like, okay, let's go. And so what led to that to even get to this
Which
point?
Again, and I thought about it and I was like, because I was going to just do it by myself and these little things that I've done and working out and stuff, I was like, shit, I got to call Tomas. This is perfect. Like, he might actually say yes.
Yeah, for sure.
It took you, I don't know, 10 seconds. And you're like, no. When I just told you about it, you were like, I'm in. I was like, well, I haven't even asked you if you want to do it, you're in what?
Don't matter. We're in.
So I got Tim Hero, who I work with, who's the president of Preserve Title Company. Great guy.
Love Tim.
Tim's great. And he'd showed me that video of Dana White.
Okay.
And he showed me the video because like 3-4 months ago, I was in Vegas and I love Dana White. Yeah. I think he's just a really smart man. Yeah. And I was at Carbone in the bathroom and I was going to the restroom. I look over to my left and there's Dana White sitting there. Yeah. I'm like, hey, what's up? And he was just super, super nice. He came and sat at our table and told us how to beat the casino. And
get out.
Oh, he's all about that. So
that's super
he was like,
cool.
hey, you a gambler? And I told him, yeah. And he could start asking me questions. He's like, oh, you're a gambler. Yeah. So he sat down and coached us through all that. Just super, super humble, super nice guy. So I had told Tim that story and Tim was like, look what Dana White did. Because Tim knows I like to work out a lot and I got Tim into boxing. Yep. So Tim goes to boxing now once a week. And so he showed me the video and I was like, well, that's dumb. You're going to not eat for 4 days. That's not good for your body. You can't work out and do that. And that just kind of sparked a curiosity in my mind.
The thought. Yep.
Yeah. At that moment, I was like, I'd never do that. But it sparked a curiosity in my mind. And then the way it happened was kind of, I'll tell you the exact truth. Towards the end of the year, it got real busy. So I was super busy and I was working a ton and I was eating wrong, even for my lifestyle. Now I knew, when you eat too much or when you're not on it, right? Yep. So I wasn't on it. And that I started to think when that starts to happen, I start to think in my head, okay, I got to recalibrate. I got to go hard again. Yeah. And I got to put a hard stop and, get back on it. Yeah. So I did, I got back on it, but then I got back off of it. So it was like stints like that of week on, week off. And then I thought in my head, you know what? Fuck it. Let's do that Dana White thing. Yeah. And then Dana White said something and I started researching a lot about it. It helps, it's not for weight loss. Yeah. It helps prevent a lot of future diseases. Yes. Because it makes your body do something and work. And that process, I guess, helps prevent future diseases. Yeah. Like I mentioned earlier, my father-in-law passed away a year ago from brain cancer. Very unfortunate, very sad. It hit me, man, I admired very much. Yeah. Tomorrow is his actual, is the anniversary date. Yeah. Right? So my wife and I are going to drive to McAllen. We're going to go see him and we're going to drive back. Yeah. So in my head, I've got a little bit of extra motivation here. Yeah. I saw him fight through brain cancer. He was the healthiest guy that I knew. He maybe, indulged a little too much here and there, but he was very healthy. Yeah. He fought through brain cancer. He couldn't fight through it because it hit him. So I said, gosh, that, how awesome to do something that will prevent things like that. Take care of your body so that you don't have those things happen. And if this might happen, well, hey, I can do a hard reset. Yeah. And I can just really do a hard reset with my body and get back on it to where I should be. Yeah. This fast will obviously do that. And I'm going to plan it to where I do it to where I can go see him. And when I see him, I'll just have him as motivation, something crazy in my mind. Wow. That's how I planned it. So Tim ended up doing it at the beginning of the year with Jay. Yeah. They both did it and they called me and told me, and that's when I was like, you know what? I should do this. Yeah. They both did it. And after they loved it, they, I think, did it a little wrong because they were not doing well during the fast.
Tim called me yesterday and he told me his whole story.
Hallucinating and looking at the fan. The fan was off, but it was moving. Yes. So it just kind of all came together naturally. So I said, okay, I'm going to do a hard stop. I'm going to honor my father-in-law when I do it. Wow. I'm going to do it to where I time it to where the 86th hour is kind of when we're getting to McAllen. Oh, wow. So the way it worked out is we're in the third day, right? Yeah. Only electrolytes and water. It's been yesterday was tough. Yes. Today I feel great for some reason. I went to the gym. I worked out. Daniel was like, okay, just don't, take it easy. I didn't take it easy. I went hard. Oh, and I feel great. And our 80s, my 86 hour, I thought we're like a couple hours apart maybe, but I started at 10 p.m. on Sunday. 10 p.m. on Sunday was my last bite. Yeah. And it was a chocolate because I was like, I'm gonna.
You might as well.
Might as well. And that was my last bite. So my next bite is 10 p.m. tomorrow. Yeah. And I'm going to boxing in the morning at 6 a.m. We're going to take the kids to school and we're going to book it from here at about 9 a.m. Okay. And that's going to put us at the cemetery right at about 12 to 12:30. Wow. So I'll go see him. And then once I see him, I'll let
And
them
then
know
you
that I
guys go
did
get
it,
something
I
to eat.
finished it, and then I'll go get something to eat.
Wow, man. And now talk about the clarity. Cause, when you're on a fast, I've done fast before. My wife has been into this and we've done some crazy ones. I did the master cleanse, which is a lemon, water and cayenne pepper that the people talk about. And I did it for 6 days and it was tough, right? Like I will tell you honestly, I felt like this one was a little bit harder, weirdly. And it may just be, there was so much distance between the times that I've done the first one that maybe I'm just not remembering. But I remember on Monday night, I was so irritable. I was so irritable. Did you feel that irritability?
So when I go a lot of times without eating in a day, a lot. It's very normal for me to not eat in a day because I'm so busy. So I'll get in a bad mood, and sometimes I take that bad mood out on Ashley. So one thing I told myself with this, I was irritable, but I made a very conscious effort to not be in a bad mood. Because when I told Ashley I was going to do this, she was like, "Oh, that's nice. You're not going to eat for 3 days? Go to a hotel."
Yeah, that's right. Don't come home.
Do not come. So I told myself, I'm going to do this, but I'm not going to let other people suffer because I'm doing this. Because so I just, I might have been irritable, but I kept on telling myself, like one time something made me upset at home and I was like, don't get mad. Don't get mad. So I made a conscious effort not to like that. I think I was worried more about getting upset at everyone at home than I was about me being starving,
Which is awesome, right? Because this is the whole part. I think this is the part that people need to hear in terms of fasting, in terms of all the biohacking that people talk about, cold plunges and saunas and all of this stuff. I think people need to understand that discomfort is actually what's really good for us.
Look, and that's what I think when like I was suffering yesterday, it was, it's 2 days. It's been now however many hours, Sunday night, Tuesday night, no food. You're not going to eat dinner. And it hurts. I mean, it's mentally challenging. It's physically challenging. And then I think to myself, well, you know what? Then I'm doing it right.
You're doing it right.
Because it's actually challenging. So the benefits are going to be there. Like I said, anything that's worth it comes with sacrifice and challenge. So I actually enjoy it. In fact, this morning I was like, shit, tomorrow I'm done.
Yeah.
I was like, that sucks.
Yeah.
We
just got to do it again, Binkan. I mean, we just do this twice a year, right? You do it twice a year. Good reset for the body.
Yeah.
I feel like, just the clarity of my mind. Like last night I was working on something and I've been very diligent about getting sleep, but the last few nights, for whatever reason, I've just gotten this burst of energy at like 7, 8, and I'm working till 10:30. Yeah. Like normally I wouldn't necessarily do that, but it's just, there's this clarity that comes with not eating. I think it's been helpful.
I agree. I think the first day for me was very groggy, very tough. I was hesitant to negotiate things because I was extreme. And that's because of caffeine. I've drank caffeine for 20 years of my life every day.
Okay. So, but how many cups did you do? Like legitimate? How much would you drink?
I'll wake up with 2 double espresso.
Okay.
That's my pre-workout. I don't take pre-workout. I don't take any supplements or anything like that, but a double espresso right when I wake up at 5:30 to go to the gym.
Okay.
And then when I get to the office at 10 a.m., I'll do another espresso. And then from there to 10 p.m. when I leave the office, I'll do another 8 espressos, depending. Okay. Especially if I'm working late. Yeah. I'll start to get tired. I go to my little machine. Pop the espresso, pop the espresso. So I drink a lot, sometimes maybe not as much, but a lot of caffeine. Yeah. And I haven't drank caffeine since.
Here's what's amazing.
Sunday morning.
You haven't had any headaches?
Oh yeah.
You have.
That's been the hardest part.
Okay, so to talk, because I think people need to understand that during a fast, during like that, and especially when you're kind of detoxing from caffeine, the headaches.
Yeah, so there's hunger headaches, but the caffeine headaches are worse, I think. And I had them pretty bad. Okay. And it's just one of those things, and I think to myself, well, if it's just a headache, then it's just a headache. I'm doing good. I'm almost on the other side, and you just keep going. Yesterday I did have some Himalayan salt and water. Yes. I told myself I wasn't going to. Yeah. I've stayed strict, just water and electrolytes. But you guys told me that the salt doesn't do anything for the fast.
No, doesn't break the fast.
It kicked it, but with time, it took some time.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
But the mental clarity is amazing.
It's so good. Question. Yeah, it's so good. And it's weird to think, like, when you called me and you're like, okay, I'm on my way for the podcast. And I'm sitting there going, okay, let's go. Let's go. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I mean, I haven't had anything to eat, right? We both haven't had anything to eat, but I'm like let's get this, man. Let's make this happen. And I looked at Christina. I was like, this is going to be an awesome podcast. I'm super pumped about this. So what would you tell somebody right now? Like if they're like, I don't know, this fasting stuff, it's for the birds. Is this the first time you've ever done anything like this?
Oh gosh, yes.
Okay.
I would make fun of, no, so I would be like, that's so dumb, But
yeah.
it is.
Now that you're in the middle of it, like what would you tell somebody that was contemplating it or was on the other side of it going, yeah, no, that's silly.
Mm-hmm. So I think in general, it's good to challenge yourself. And even if you do it with a fast, wonderful. Hey, you do it with a fast, it's 3 days. You have extreme health benefits, just amazing health benefits for your body. And you lose some weight, which isn't a bad thing, right? So that's a good way to challenge yourself. And I think that, not so much just for the fast, but just to challenge yourself. That's a good thing. Be it in anything that you do, in fasting or in work or in your personal life, give yourself a challenge. And then when you get into a challenge, it's very important that you get to the finish line and you achieve your goal.
Yeah.
So you commit to something and then you finish it. And that's something that I think is good for you psychologically, physically, mentally, because the more challenges, it's just all little challenges in life, right? So you overcome these challenges and you get to your goal and then you just have this winning mentality. Like for me, I'll probably pass out before I don't finish this fast.
No, for sure.
Like I will finish this fast, no question about it.
Yeah.
Because failure is just not an option.
Yeah.
Because I've set goals for myself and challenges for myself, and I've learned that the most important thing is to do them. So if you don't think it's good, or if you don't know if you should do it or not, just do it to challenge yourself. It's a beautiful thing for yourself, mentally and for your well-being.
Yeah. And people don't like discomfort, right? That's Being in discomfort is like, why our body is like, it's fighting to be comfortable. That's what our body wants to do.
You have to discomfort. Gain comes with discomfort.
Yes.
It really does. That's the only, when I'm at the gym and I know that I'm just exhausted, that's when I'm like, I got to go hard now because this is when it's worth it.
Yeah.
So discomfort is a part of gaining.
It takes me back to the marathon we ran in San Antonio, and we had a game plan, Binkan. I don't know if you remember this, but we had a game plan. We talked about this the night before.
Yeah. I remember, the night before the marathon, people typically have a game plan 3 months before.
Well, that's true. That's true. That's true.
And you told me hey, come on, just come sign up. Let's just go sign up. Let's just do it.
Yeah.
And I remember drinking on Friday night, I was drinking wine, a lot of wine.
Yeah.
And then Saturday we went to this convention. I've never been to a marathon convention, and all these people and all these runners, and they all look like they're ready to go. I'm like, oh shit, what did I do? And we signed up.
You looked at me and go, why am I doing this again?
I was like, do I need to buy some of these goos? I ended up showing up in just shorts and a t-shirt.
Yep.
I Ubered there.
Yeah.
And we did. We had a game plan.
The game plan was, look, let's start out, because I told you, because for people that don't know, Binkan, as we got into running, you just got faster and faster. You're fast, right? And you got to a point where you were way beyond me. You're way faster than me. And so I said, look, you're going to want to take off. I said, I'm telling you, the excitement, everybody's running around you. You're going to want to just take off and just I said, but just let's keep it at like a 9:45 pace, 9:30, 45 pace. And I said, you're going to be fine. So we start running. And I just remember I see you just take off and I'm like, oh crap. And I tried to stay with you and you were at like an 8:20 pace that first mile.
That was a good, that run was crazy. That run was, I'm so glad that I did it. It was hard for sure. It was hard after mile 22.
Yeah.
It got people said, you'll hit a wall at 17. You'll hit a wall at 18. I had never run more than 15 miles.
That's right. Yep.
But I had run, we'd run 15 miles on Friday and we'd run 15 miles on Saturday.
That's right.
So I could get up and run 15 miles any moment. Right.
Yeah.
But I never run more than that.
Yeah.
So I was like, I can do it. So, at 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, I didn't hit a wall. I was good.
You're like, this is easy.
22, I was like, oh shit. It got really bad.
Yeah.
But it was a really, really good experience. My mom's a big runner. And I remember the first thing that happened, I took off and then I thought I was going to try to stay with you, but I just kept running. And then I was like, okay, whatever, I'm just going to go.
Yeah.
And I had my AirPods and my watch. And the first thing that happened is my AirPods ran out of battery immediately. I don't know why. I thought I'd charge them, whatever.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, that's terrible. So I threw the AirPods away.
Yeah.
And now I'm just running, and I typically always ran with music. So that kind of got me but then I got in rhythm and it was great. And then I didn't take any goos or anything at all.
Were you drinking anything like when you take
I would
it?
grab
Like,
I would grab the Gatorade and the waters.
But no supplements.
No
You weren't doing any.
supplements at
Okay.
all. None.
Yeah.
And I didn't do any the whole time. And then I felt like at 24, I felt I really felt like I was going to pass out. And so I had salt coming out of me.
Yes.
And I was trying to eat the salt that was coming out of me because I was low on potassium. I was low on sodium, sorry. So then I finally got to a salt packet place, and I was eating the salt packets, just all of them.
Yeah.
And then at the very end, I was going to break 4 hours, but then I got cramps in both my legs. I almost collapsed. And I hobbled my way to the finish line. And I remember, first at mile 19, when I was getting tired, my mom called me.
Yeah.
I didn't tell anyone I was doing the marathon.
No one knew?
No one knew.
Oh my gosh. I didn't know that, Binkan.
No one knew. My wife, I told her on Saturday, and she's like, well, we have a birthday party at 10 a.m.
Oh gosh.
I was like, okay, well, that's fine. So that's why I Ubered there at 5 a.m. And then when the marathon finished, I walked around, I saw all these people, I ate a banana, and I walked for 30 minutes to another Uber and Ubered back home.
Oh my gosh.
So at mile 19, my mom calls me just by chance. And I look at my phone, my watch, and she's calling me on my watch. So I answer.
Yeah.
She can kind of hear me, and I'm running. I'm talking to the watch, and she's like, "Oh, you're running?" Because I would usually run on a Sunday morning anyway. She's like, "Yeah, I'm running, Mom." And I was like, "And I want to tell you something, Mom." She's like, "What?" I was like, "I'm on my 19th mile, and I'm doing the marathon. I'm doing the marathon for you because you always wanted me to do a marathon." And she just starts bawling and crying, and she's all happy. So I was like, "Okay, that gave me a little push." So that got me to mile 22.
Yeah.
And then once I got the cramps at like mile 23.
Yeah.
That's when there's a lot of people now. So there's a lot of people, and all of a sudden these little girls, they're Sophie's age.
Yeah.
They were like 7 years old, 6 years old. They have signs, and their teacher, who like just runs past me because I'm hobbling, literally hobbling, trying to get to the finish line, runs past me, and they're like, "Oh, Mrs." And I see a bunch of little girls, and I'm like, "Oh, that's Sophie. One of them is Sophie." So I keep running, and she picked me up and got me past the finish line. But
that's awesome. And then when you cross, it's like a whole nother, it's like relief.
Yeah,
but
it's a lot of relief.
There's a relief feeling like when you get to the end of that finish line, right? Yeah. And so I end with this because I know you got to wrap up, but I think that, I always tell people, it's like, look, there is no finish line, right? That the idea is that
the next thing.
We got to go to the next thing. You know what I mean? Like, what's the next thing? What are we going to attempt next? And this fast was just another one of those things. So when you called me and you told me, because I had heard all about this fast, and I was like, oh, no, I know all about it. Let's do it. I'm in. What's next?
Yeah.
What's next for you?
It just depends on what the days bring. I keep your head down, work hard every single day. Make sure that you take care of your family and you spend a lot of time with your family. And things like this will always come up, right? Things to keep us at the front, to keep us on our toes. Challenges that you gotta, let the challenges come, and then make sure you overcome them. Make sure you hit your goal. Yeah. But it's a good thing to do them.
I love it. Well, Binkan, dude, this was an amazing podcast, man. I appreciate you being on TM3 Impact, and I look forward to our next challenge. Let's make it happen.
For sure.
We'll see you, brother.
Thanks, man.